kuti we use bar graphs and also pie charts kana tichida kurepresenta qualitative data. Also remember kuti qualitative data, that is categorical data, which can either be nominal, kureva kuti no order, kana kuti ordinal, which means there is order. So when we look at the bar graph, our first point is going to be, this is used to represent discrete data using bars where the observations are detached from each other. Saka, this is used to present discrete data using bars. And that's important to note that we are using bars where the observations are detached from each other. So this is the first point in our notes. So before we even go to the second point, I just want to preempt something. I'm sure you learned this in your O level. So let us say we have two graphs. The other one, we have bars which are not detached. On the other one, we have detached bars. Saka patanga tinyora this note, tati this is used to present discrete data. It can be discrete, it can also be qualitative data. Panapa, you can add it in your notes. Discrete or qualitative, cannot discrete and qualitative data using bars where the observations are detached from each other. Saka, when we do not have detached bars, this is called a histogram. But when we have detached bars, we are talking about a bar graph. Saka msiyano we histogram ne bar graph wakakosha. Pa bar graph maba edu anenge ari separated, angasina kubatana, but pa histogram mabars acho anenge akadi akabatana. Okay. Saka we are going to be looking at different practical examples. For example, a simple bar graph can be used to analyze the average rainfall of 3 provinces in Zimbabwe in a particular season. So let us write this down and bring a bar graph, then we explain it. Saka, this is going to be our example 1. In this example, this is an analysis. What are we analyzing? This is an analysis of the average rainfall of 3 provinces in Zimbabwe in a particular season. An analysis of the average rainfall of 3 provinces in Zimbabwe in a particular season. So let us bring about the bar graph we are going to be using. This is the bar graph we are going to be using. Saka kumsoro kuno tinonyora a title. Saka this is a title. The title of our graph, bar graph showing average rainfall. Then kana takuchida kuchi display our graph, we are going to be using a Cartesian plane, 2 axes like this. Saka kana tiri statistics, this axis which we commonly refer to as the x-axis, kunoku tichaisa what we refer to as the independent kana kuti explanatory variable. The independent or the explanatory variable. Then y-axis kunoku tichaisa chi what we refer to as the dependent variable kana kuti we can call it a response variable like this. Saka ku x-axis kunouya the independent variable kana kuti explanatory, ku y-axis kunouya the dependent variable kana kuti response. We are going to explain this more pachatanga kuita regression, but for now it was more like preemptive. So munofanirwa kuziva for now ndeizvi. If we have a bar graph, ku x-axis ndiko kuchauya macategories acho. Remember tatsanangura tichiti a bar graph is meant to present discrete and or qualitative data. Saka macategories anouya ku x-axis, ku y-axis ndo kunouya chi ma numbers kana kuti the numerical part of our data. Saka manamba anoenda ku y-axis, then ku x-axis ndo kunouya ma category. As you can see, Manicaland, Mashonaland nematableland, these are the three provinces. Then kunokukoya chi ma rainfalls. Then this rainfall data, how are we going to read this data? Saka before we even think about interpretation of the data we have, we should be able to read our visual aid. Saka kuti tizive kuti muManicaland what is the average rainfall, tinongoenda pa peak pe this bar tovatadi totarisa kutaona kuti for Manicaland the average rainfall is 1000. Then my units are 1000. Tinoma wana kunoka angatori labeled. It's millimeters. Andika? Then what about Mashonaland? Again, Saka this is done with a straight ruler or with even your eyes to associate the peak of this bar or for Mashonaland and also its rainfall. Saka the rainfall kunoku for Mashonaland, it's the rainfall for Mashonaland, it's 800 millimeters. That is what we have. Then Matabeleland, if I try to match through extrapolation, I see kuti Matabeleland the average rainfall in this season is 400 millimeters, like that. Saka chakakosha pano kuziva kuti manamba edu anoenda kuchi ku y-axis, makategori anoenda ku x-axis. Then kana iri bar graph, our bars should be detached, kana kuti they should be separate. Let us go on to the next points. To make a comparative assessment, and it saka panapa togonotoisa a new subheading tovatati comparisons using bar graphs. Comparisons using bar graphs. Saka to make a comparative assessment of two or more observations of the same subject, we are going to employ a multiple bar graph or a component bar graph. Saka not yet we use a multiple bar graph or a component bar graph. Saka akasiyana, tichaona musiyano wacho in a moment. A component bar graph to make comparative observations or a comparative assessment. And this comparative assessment is going to be of 2 or more observations, but these observations, they should be of the same subject. So tofana compare zvino zviri of the same subject. That is what we can compare. Consider the average rainfall in Manicaland, Mashonaland and Matabeleland provinces for 2 different seasons. And saka example yedu, we are following through example yatata kwekutanga, but in this case we are comparing saka what are we comparing? We want to compare the average rainfall in Manicaland, Mashonaland and Matabeleland provinces for 2 different seasons. So this is now for 2 different seasons. Okay, we are going to be using a multiple or a component bar graph, but in order to draw our focus on this part, 2 different seasons. Saka 2 different seasons ndochi the same subject. Saka the subject panapa, it's a season, but we are now comparing for 2 different seasons. Tichi focus on Manicaland, Mashonaland and also Matabeleland provinces. Saka we are either going to use what we refer to as a multiple bar graph kana kuti a component bar graph. Saka a multiple bar graph and a component bar graph, these are used for comparisons. These 2 bar graphs can be used to present the same set of observations in a different way. A multiple bar graph juxtaposes or puts side by side observations of the same category. Saka, let us come here and let us now look at the multiple bar graph. Saka a multiple bar graph what does a multiple bar graph do? A multiple bar graph juxtaposes. So this is to some of you might be a new English term. To juxtapose means to put side by side. To put side by side. So the observations of the same category. Saka panapa pakanzi of the same category, this is very vital. We are going to illustrate what we actually mean by that. Saka regaiti say an example of a multiple bar graph. Tichiri takatarisa a comparison between, cannot a comparison of the average rainfall in these 3 provinces, Manicaland, Mashonaland, Matabeleland. Saka the different seasons are going to be shown by a key. Let us do so. Saka panapa a key is going to be very important. Nekuti mukatarisa maba are in this color, call it green, and they are representing 2012. and tikadzokera kumusoro kunoku tinoona kuti mabar aya are they the same? Yes, they are, because this bar iri kutiudza kuti in Manicaland in 2012 average rainfall i1000 millimeters, panapa Manicaland 2012 i800, panapa Manicaland 2012 it's also 400. Saka this key ndio iri kutiudza chi the two different seasons. But tichiri papapa muri kuona kuti we are comparing different observations but of the same category. Macategories edu asi kuchinja, it's still Manicaland, Mashonaland and Matabeleland. Saka tikatarisa panapa the two different seasons i2012 na 2013. Saka tikada kuziva kuti what was the difference in rainfall between these two seasons kuManicaland, difference yacho is simply subtracting 1000 minus 800. Correct, this will be the difference kagepi kakaka. The same applies neka gap kadi kaka, then panapa neka gap ako. Saka reading again for 2013, because we have already done for 2012, tunaona kuti it's slightly above 800 for Manicaland. For Mashonaland it's closer to 800, and then for Matabeleland it's slightly above 400. Saka kana mchita comparison, the key is very important, because ndo ichasiyanisa ma-seasons acho. Make sure your categories amnenge maisa ku x-axis, make sure they are written properly, and make sure kuti the two bars now they are going to be angakabatana. Saka what is detached? Ma bars for different provinces, that is categories, but for within the same category mapana ngakabatana. Kora kuti you shouldn't write it like this, like modaiso mova masiyanisa futi like this kunoku moti Mashonaland. No, azo manyorerwa zvinoitwa. Kana iri category 1 make sure kuti mabaa akabatana, asi kana ama category 2 kana kuti province 2 make sure kuti mabaa hana kubatana. Saka this is the multiple bar graph which is showing average rainfall. What about a component bar graph? Saka let us look at what we refer to as a component bar graph. For a component bar graph, what we are saying is it is also known as a compound bar graph. Saka a component bar graph in other literature mugona kuwana ichinzi chi compound bar graph. Component bar graph is also known as a compound bar graph. Okay, and what does it do? A component bar graph, it does not juxtapose, but the technical term here is it superposes. Saka a component bar graph superposes. To superpose means to put one observation on top of the other. One observation on top of the other observation. But this should be of the same family, and we explain what we refer by of the same family. Okay, let us put an example so that it makes sense. A component bar graph showing average rainfall, the title. Then Saka, this is the title. Remember, our key, very important. Saka panapa tinenge tangoturikadzanisa zvinhu. Saka mukatarisa for 2012 iri kugumira pa 1000, then totangira pa 1000 tichienda to around 1800 for 2013. Saka tikada kuziva the difference between 2013 and 2012, we are just going to, alright, before we even think of the difference, kana tikada kuziva the average rainfall for Manicaland, for the year 2013. How do we do it? Saka for the year 2012, we are just going to take this reading. But for the year 2013, tinouya totora this reading, which is 1800, to subtract from the reading for 2012, which is 1000. Saka for 2013 Manicaland, it's going to be 800 millimeters. Saka napamusana pekuti 2012 iri kutangira pana 0, we can just take that reading. But because 2013 iri kutangira panoperera 2012, tofunga kusubtracta reading inocombine both 2012 and 2013 minus reading ya 2012 tosara tina 2013. Saka this is Manicaland 2013. Then if we want to do comparisons, we know kuti in 2013 it was 800, tinoziva kuti in 2012 it was 1000. Saka the difference here of 200 is telling us kuti the average rainfall in 2012 yanga yakawanda by 200 as compared to the average rain which we got in 2013. Saka it's important to know how to find the average rainfall for 2013, then also knowing how to do the necessary comparisons. Saka again I emphasize kukosha kwakaita key. Know that your categories anoenda ku x-axis, your numbers, your numerical data, numerical corresponding data inoenda ku y-axis. Then always remember your title when you are trying to represent data. So this is it, Hama. If you have derived any benefit from this lesson, may you consider liking, subscribing and sharing. If you want to join our class A-level statistics, you can WhatsApp us on +263 71 521 3310. Thank you and have a nice day.